Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sidmouth 69th Sidmouth Folk Festival and to the Manor Pavilion, of course. And no disruption from the weather in here. You'll be pleased to know, as you well know, we've had a lot of problems out there today. That wind was mighty strong. The rain last night was pretty disruptive. But we've got a great programme of events coming up throughout the whole week at the festival, and particularly here at the Manor Pavilion. This evening, we present The Undoing of Polly Button. Now, this is written by Catherine Fear, who is part of the cast tonight, and it's based on a book by Stephen Moore, who I believe is in the audience tonight. So, a few things, housekeeping very quickly. Mobile phones, please just check they're off. Emergency doors, you will see green signs, should we need them, just go away. And it is a seating only venue, so please remain seated with this seatbelt on, will be fine. Again, just a great welcome, and I'm so glad this festival is thriving and going in the right direction. So please enjoy tonight's performance of The Undoing of Polly Button. Thank you.
Johnny Taxi played his pranks on a barnhole party, but he drew his knife to please his wife and cut her up like mutton. Johnny Taxi played his pranks on a barnhole party, but he drew his knife to please his wife and cut her up like mutton.
John Dance, you are charged with the cruel and despicable murder of Mary Green, otherwise known as Polly Button. What say you?
I am innocent.
March 1855. My dearest Sarah, I dare say you will be surprised to see that I write from Dover. I have taken lodgings here for a little while until Mr. Lewis has concluded some arrangements in London. And with the aid of fine weather, I'm even enjoying myself. Yours, Marianne. I should say Marion. Lewis. No longer Evans. Though what you and the rest of my Warwickshire friends and family will say when you hear the news that London society is buzzing with, that Miss Marion Evans, editor of the Westminster Review, has run away with a married man, I hardly dare to imagine. So here I sit, a heathen and an outlaw. And what to do with 4 or 5 weeks alone? Well, Lewis suggests I write a novel of my own rather than simply reviewing others. After all, I have been on the front line championing Charlotte Bronte. George and I do so admire Villette. Yet if I write, it won't be of my present predicament or anything like it. And it won't be under my own name, any of them. George Evans? No. George Eliot. Yes, that has a nice, mouth-filling, easy pronounceable name. George Eliot. Well, what to write about? My hometown, I think. The riots following the Reform Act? No. Something smaller. The pains and joys of those who differ from us in everything but the broad human fact of being struggling, erring human creatures. Let me look at my journals, therein to seek inspiration. Goodness. This diary goes back 20 years and more.
Don't go down the Burgage, it's not the place to be. A lady sometimes walks there, she's not like you or me. Her face is white as winter, there's frost upon her shore. And she's holding out her hands to catch the children, one and all.
Oh, that poor woman, Mary Green, of course. I was 12 years old, but I remember her murder as if it were yesterday. It was the talk of the town, as much as she was during her lifetime. Polly Button, as she is known, found in a lane near an open barn, her throat cut. No witnesses, but the suspicion is all on her married lover, John Danks. The barn was found soaked in blood. This would make for a fascinating story indeed. Could the man who had loved her have attacked her in a murderous frenzy, almost severing her head from her body? Or could the authorities, in fact, have convicted the wrong person? Here, I would have a story about love and money. But then, is that not the subject of every human narrative? Where should I start? Let's see. Let's go back to the turn of the 19th century. The Little Midlands market town of Nuneaton, oh, I shall give it another name, of course, is growing in population and prosperity. The nuns of its name have long since left, and now the town is experiencing a booming economy brought about by the growth of the ribbon weaving trade, known as the Big Pearl Time. The rattle and hum of 3,000 handlooms is the incessant accompaniment to life in this town. Through oversized windows, we see the bent treadmill attitude of the weavers working in their homes. These undersized and pale people look like the remnants of a disinherited race, their lives reduced to the unquestioning activity of a spinning insect. Well, the industry is in good health, and it is common for the workers to partake in extended rest at the weekends, enjoying their leisure even until, say, Monday. And in leaner times, the inns and taverns make a profit, even when other trades are failing.
A man was today convicted of selling his wife.
A group of gentlemen calling themselves the Nuneaton Freemen visited the Craven Arms in Coventry, where they ate and drank to excess and left without paying for any.
At the first assembly of the year, attended by about 40 persons, one gent lost his hat, a second had his exchanged, and a third had his made use of in an improper manner.
It's the early 1800s and the wheels are spinning round. All power to the hand loom in a little market town. Every house has a window and it's as big as can be. Sun shining on the hand loom, sun shining on the likes of you and me. We're living in a boom town, big boat and boom town. It's all happening in a boom town. Come on down and
she'll never see. A hand that's furnished her little vanities, one Saturdays for drinking and Sunday restful. As a rather say Monday, time to take it to the streets and sing. We're living in a boom town, big well-time boom town, so happy in a boom town. Come on down and sing. We're living in a boom town, big well-time boom town, so happy in a boom town. Come on down and sing.
It's the early 1800s and the wheels are spinning round, all power to the hand loom in a little market town. Every house has a window and it's as big as can be. Sun shining on the hand loom, sun shining on the likes of you and me. We're living in a boom town, big bells and boom town, so happy in a boom town. Come on down and sing. Big bells and boom town, so happy in a boom town. Come on down and sing.
In Upper Abbey Street, in one of the many courts and tenements, we find the Green family. Mary Green is just 19 years old, and she's already known by the nickname Polly Button. She wears a shawl she has made herself, which is beautifully worked over the shoulders and cape, with many small buttons of various shapes, producing numerous pretty patterns. Polly loves her buttons, working them into every garment, turning a repetitive and mindless activity into a work of art with her naturally creative mind. You are very gifted. Though before my remembrance, we shall meet Polly as she falls in love for the first time, which should be a happy event. She is young, in her prime, and the young man in question is Daniel Wagstaff, son of one of the richest men in town. Indeed, at this time, Polly is already carrying his child. But she is just 19, and perhaps naive about the possibility of his love for her being strong enough for him to propose marriage to a lowly weaver. We will find the young girl waiting, full of hope, nervous excitement, and innocent optimism to break the news that he is to become a father. This could, of course, be fortuitous for Polly. No more toiling at the loom for her. How bitter, then, the discovery that this is never going to be. Not only are her dreams about to be shattered, but her present condition makes for a serious predicament.
Sweet Daniel, I have given you my maiden hand, my honor too. You have taken the fairest flower. Do not desert me in this hour. I am but 19 years of age. I hoped I should your heart engage. Oh, do not say you leave me now. Oh, do not break our solemn vow. She cried, alas, I He wooed with words, he had his fun, but he is rich, and I am poor. How could I hope to ask for more? And now I see the rising sun. With heavy heart I am undone. All men are false, and I'm alone. Henceforth this heart is made of stone.
Whatever his reasons, Daniel chooses not to marry Polly, and her fate is sealed. For this begins her undoing, the unravelling of her life. An unmarried mother, she will face the financial burden of having to raise this child alone. And the stigma of its illegitimacy will render her an unsuitable match for any other decent young man, regardless of his status. This is a dark tale. I do not know if I can write this. But I'm gripped by the story of Polly now. The trial notes were lost in a fire, and the information in the Coventry Herald is so scant and biased against Polly that it is barely any use as a historical document at all. Nothing changes. A woman's reputation can always be unseamed and turned to rag. No, I shall have to fill in some of the details myself if I'm to have a full story here. So, Daniel has tired of pretty little Polly with her ribbons and her buttons and her stories of fanciful places. Like a ribbon of last season's fashions, he drops her back into the street. And Polly is left alone. Daniel will not acknowledge his child. There is no despair so absolute as that which comes in the first moments of one's first great sorrow. Poor Polly goes back to her weaving life, wondering perhaps how she will manage to live. The one shining light in her life is her beautiful daughter. The space left by Daniel is now filled with a love for her. A tiny hand is put in hers, which leads her gently forth. Polly works hard to keep them both out of the workhouse and also takes Daniel to court to force him to continue with regular payments. And there is still work to be had in the town, with many men yet to return from the wars from Napoleon. Why, even the women are in full employment.
There's nothing so handy as a war. It'll clean up your town for sure. It gets your shirkers off the street. Does not care if they're a liar or a cheat. Got any undesirables, we'll take them off the beat. Cause there's nothing so handy as a great big war. Nothing quite does it like a fight. Send them off to Europe and overnight. There's all that space where there used to be men. I haven't seen a punch-up since I don't know when. Need more workers, get the women in again. Cause there's nothing so handy as a great big war. There's nothing so helpful as a battle. Line up the poor like so much cattle. There's cash to be made from a big campaign. You won't hear a businessman complain. Sell more weapons, win-win again. Cause there's nothing so handy as a great big war. Hey! There's nothing so cheering as a tussle. An opportunity to flex some muscle. A great way to fashion men from boys. A way to size up all kinds of toys. With lots of posturing and lots of noise. There's nothing so handy as a great big war. have to know what we're fighting for. And until we really believe no more, there's nothing so handy as a great big war.
Yes. The war was a welcome boost to some, though we know all too well the devastating costs to those directly involved. And somehow Polly and baby Elizabeth survive. And eventually, Polly's spirits are lifted by the attentions of a much older man. Joe Stanton is 10 years older than her. He is a wheelwright who is handsome and athletic, and he's set his heart on winning her. Never mind the privileged Daniel Wagstaff, Joe is an ordinary working man and he's past the inconsistencies of youth. Trouble is, Joe is a man of the world and knows a few tricks for getting what he wants. What does Polly yearn for more than anything? Why, a ring on her finger, of course. Joe is happy to provide that with help from his friend. Polly has been taken in every sense. And it's not long before the cracks in this relationship begin to show. A woman's lot is made for her by the love she accepts. Having realised that her marriage was a deceit, Polly is left alone and homeless, and with 2 small children. What options are now left to her? History, we know, is apt to repeat itself with only a slight change of costume. Tom Bell will prove a more genuine character. He is kind at the outset and willing to take on 2 small children, not his own, for the sake of a woman with whom he has fallen in love. But he's pitifully poor. And after the birth of her 3rd child, a second little girl, this relationship too becomes troubled. Those who sit with us at the same hearth are often the furthest away from the deep human soul within us. One spring morning, Tom simply chooses the easiest escape and walks out of the door, never to return. Life for Polly is now unimaginably bleak and achingly tough. Why do you stay in Nuneaton? The fortunes of the ribbon weaving industry are fluctuating wildly from one season to the next. The town's fortunes are beginning to fail. Why do you stay?
Trouble is, I really don't want to leave here, and I'm not just playing safe or battening down. This is where I hang my boots, and you don't go pulling up roots when you know your heart is settled in your hometown. When you know your heart is settled in your hometown.
The trouble is, I really don't like the city. Hundreds of people rushing around. I just need to rest my feet away from the noise of the busy streets, in a quiet place by the tall trees on the edge of town. In a quiet place by the tall trees on the edge of town.
shame behind her. Perhaps she found emotional strength in the support of her family and friends. And there is no sense of ease like the ease we feel in those scenes where we were born. The end of the wars with Napoleon brought more men back into the marketplace looking for work. Jobs become scarce, and with so much competition, wages plummet. The ribbon weaving trade is particularly hard hit as fashions and France advance. Conditions for the weavers are filthy and stark. No beds, just straw bunched upon the cold, red tiled floors, barely enough money being earned to keep them from starving. Thus, Polly and her 3 children struggle on. Then, just when it would seem as if things couldn't get any worse, Polly has a disastrous encounter with a notorious rake, a shoemaker from Birmingham. He meets Polly on her way home from town with her once-weekly treat for the children, a loaf of bread to share with them. She's caught unawares as she passes the burgage. He pulls her off the street and into the shadows. Polly tries to call out, but the street is busy and nobody hears her in the filthy alley. By the time he is finished with her, Polly's miserable descent into a hellish existence is complete. 9 months later, she bears a 4th child. 2 years pass. Polly is approaching middle age, stumbling from day to day, trying to bring food to her children. Her weaving work is as highly remarked upon as ever. Indeed, oh, Polly, this is beautiful. The pride she takes in her work is one of the few joys in her life, and it's a sad and drab existence. In such a state, even the smallest kindness can be overwhelming. May every soul that touches another get some good, some little grace, one kindly thought, one bit of courage for the darkening sky. He lives just around the corner from Polly. He's a few years older than her. He has worked as a farm labourer for my Aunt Pearson in Forlongley and was well regarded by them. He's also a hedge carpenter, a skilled craftsman, working with nature's materials to create furniture and farm implements. This is John Danks. What greater joy is there for 2 people than to feel that they are joined, to strengthen one another, to be as one in silent, unspeakable memories. Thus began my love affair with George Lewis, which even now is the scandal of London's high society, because George is a married man. Well, things were never easy between George's wife Agnes and me. Even though she was the first to embark upon an affair, having several children with George's best friend, I am the one blamed and ostracised. Most of all by my own brother Isaac, who was forbidden any of the family to speak to me, which breaks my heart. John Danks too is a married man. Such affairs cannot be hidden. Inevitably, his relationship becomes known to not only their own neighbourhood, but also to mine as judgmental now, as it was then. Now they judge me. There are reports of arguments between Polly Danks and his wife Jane, with open hostility in the streets.
It's Saturday night and the children want to eat bread. It's only once a week, but you treat yourself instead. You find enough money for ale. These babies are growing so pale. Have you even heard a word I've said?
How much can one man stand? I only have one pair of hands. Hey, I work all day, you have all of my pay. This is not the life I planned.
It's Saturday night
How
and the
much
children
can
want
one
to
man
eat
stand?
bread. It's only
I
once a week, but
only
you
have
treat
one
yourself
pair of
instead. You find enough
I
money
work all
for
day.
real. These babies
You
are
have all of
products
my
of
pay.
pill. Have you even
This is not the
heard what
life I
I
planned. How much can one man stand?
Where is your loyalty?
I only have one pair of hands.
Where is your shame?
I
Have I
work
not
all
loved
day.
you?
You
Do
have all
not
my pay.
care.
This is
Now
not the
all I
life
hear
I
is her
planned.
name. It's Saturday night.
How
the
much
children
can
want to
one
be
man
friends.
stand?
It's only
I only have one
yourself
pair of
instead. Where is
hands.
your shame? You find
I work all day.
These babies
You have all
do
my
not
pay.
care. You
This is
know
not
what
the
I
life
hear
I
is her
planned.
name. Have you
This is
even
not the
heard
life
what I
I
planned?
planned. Cheers.
This is clearly a relationship that should have been extinguished at the start. The couple cannot seem to bring a halt to it. They step out together regularly across Weddington Meadows and out towards the well-known lover's haunt that is Astley's Hovel. Despite the growing conflict around them, neither seems able to relinquish the affair. And inevitably, there is another child for whom to provide. Yet Dank simply does not have the means to support a second family.
I was tired of fighting, grown weary too soon, wondering how my life had gone so far astray. All it took was one kind word, one hand in the night, to pull me back to the brightness of day. There were obvious dangers, it was all quite clear. Every crack in the road was sharply defined. You can wonder at me if you like, you can shake your head, 'cause love is blind. Love is blind. So we stepped out carefully, holding on to the side, feeling every inch of the way by hand, reassuring at each turn that it was just a game after all, pretending each to the other that we'd understand. I had even convinced myself that I could let go anytime, that I could just walk away and not really mind. But now it feels like the stars have fallen from the sky, 'cause love is blind. Love is blind. I look back and I wonder, were there any signs that he was already pulling away? Though I know there were many, I excused them all. I would have held on forever, come what may. I believed his caresses proved a heart that was true. Desperate dreams can play tricks on the mind. But love has no reason, and it doesn't play fair. Love is blind. Love is blind. Love is blind. Love is blind.
Another 2 years pass, and the affair endures. Oh, it remains the talk of our town. And with 5 children now in tow, it does not go unnoticed that Polly's apron has grown tight. Again. She cannot live on love alone. Danks is summoned to the court to account for his non-payment for Jane, his first child, rather mischievously named by Polly. The hour of poor Polly's destruction is approaching. Has he told his wife that he owes a large sum of money? Is Jane Danks aware that another child is on the way? How could she not be? Oh, this affair has been irresistible. Now it is clearly destined for disaster. On the cold, crisp evening of the 18th of February, 1832, under a bitter, bright moon, John Danks and Polly Button take a final walk together.
Johnny Danks, he played his pranks upon poor Polly Button. He drew his knife to please his wife and cut her up like mutton.
Went out last night to walk a while. I met poor Polly who was with child. She gave me grief and she gave me strife. I stopped her hooting with a pocket knife. Stopped her hooting with a pocket knife. I began to think of what a deed I'd done. I ditched that knife and away did run. I ran straight home and I went to bed. No more trouble from Polly, I said. No trouble from Polly, I said. Well, the next morning about 8:30, they found her body by a full bar gate. They put her on a door and they carried her home. For all our little children to weep and moan. For our little children to weep and moan. Constable hadn't caught up with me, and he quickly took me into custody. Drove to prison and I waved my hat. Oh, if she's been killed, I know nothing of that. If she's been killed, I know nothing of that. So they put me on a car and they drove me through town. Everybody stared as the rain came down. They found me guilty as I knew they would. Never could wash away all of that blood. Never could wash away all of that blood. So the judge and the jury, they took their stand. The judge had a paper in his right hand. May the Lord have mercy on a poor girl's soul. St. Mary's bell began to toll. St. Mary's bell began to toll. When I last night to walk a while, I met poor Polly who was with child. She gave me grief and she gave me strife. I stopped her hooting with a pocket knife. I stopped her hooting.
A woman named Green, commonly called Polly Button, was found this morning lying in the road leading from Mr. Astley's barn with a throat horribly cut and was dead. It was not doubted but that the woman was murdered from the large quantity of blood found to be on the straw therein and on the gate of the field. Groups of people continued to visit this spot on several succeeding days.
A new character enters our story. Nuneaton's first ever policeman, Constable Joseph Haddon, is on the trail of Danks within hours of the discovery of poor Polly's body. Even as she's being carried on a door back to her home in Twitchell's yard, Haddon is pursuing Danks across the town. While her children weep over her lifeless body, Haddon has been quickly appraised of the stormy relationship between Danks and the victim, and has tracked down and apprehended Danks the same day. Danks is led up the steps to Nuneaton jail. He pauses on the top step and, turning, waves his hat at the angry gathering crowd. From here,
I am innocent!
he is taken to the inquest, where he is offered some refreshment. He accepts, and raising his tankard, drinks to the health of the persons present.
Cheers.
To nobody's surprise, he is charged with murder. News of such a tragedy spreads quickly. The local newspapers, the Coventry Herald and the Leamington Courier, are full of the story, and it even makes national headlines. But a conundrum arises. How, on this earth, did Polly Button, with her throat cut so badly the attacker almost severed her head from her body, manage to walk 23 yards from the barn in which the attack took place, also surmounting a 4-bar gate, to where she eventually dropped from exhaustion and died in the roadway? Apparently, this devoted mother made an extraordinary effort to get home to her beautiful waiting children. Mighty is the force of motherhood. It transforms all with its vital heat. It turns timidity into fierce courage.
I would crawl across the ground for you. I would find my way back home.
John Danks had allegedly made a confession to Haddon on his way to Warwick Jail. This is later retracted, so Constable Haddon is required to gather up witnesses and have them transported to Warwick for the spring assizes. The chief witness is Polly's 17-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. Both she and Polly's nephew had seen Danks and Polly speaking together before leaving the house that evening. And now they are subjected to a cold jury and cross-examined by ferocious barristers just weeks after the death of their beloved Polly. Haddon had also gathered up witnesses to verify the ownership of the knife, witnesses to describe the blood on the defendant's clothing, and witnesses to Polly's cries for help heard across a field almost half a mile away. Despite the apparent clarity of the case, the defendant's counsel set about discrediting the witnesses' moral character as well as their evidence. Daughter and nephew gave conflicting accounts of timings and weather and visibility. James Green, otherwise known as Billy Button, comes in for particular scrutiny. Presiding over this court is Justice James Park. I've encountered this judge and he appears most amusing. He was described as grave, but not pompous, as polite and courteous. However, he had a passion for fresh air, demanding the windows be kept open even on the coldest days.
So Billy says, yes, my real name's Jim. My father would tell you, but I wouldn't ask him. I'm about 23, maybe 24. I don't think I've ever been in trouble before. Honest as a babe and white as the snow, says the judge. Someone open another window.
So, Mr. Green, do you deny that you've been in jail? Now, don't you lie. Yes, maybe more than once or twice, perhaps 3 times to be quite precise. Mr. Green, what times? I think you know, says the judge.
Someone open another window.
Well, it might have been cloudy or foggy that night. I do remember that the stars were bright. It was after 7, maybe 8. Not too early or not too late. The witnesses come, roses go, says the judge.
Someone open another window. So here are the jury, 12 men true, a grocer from Rugby, a draper true, a pawnbroker, 3 men of the land, a shivering sheriff and those on the stand all turn on their collars as the wind doth blow. Yes, the judge wants to open another window.
Levity aside, despite the questionable reliability of the witnesses, the evidence against Danks is far too compelling for him to escape justice. The blood on his clothes, the knife on the hedge, the arguments between him, Polly and Jane, his wife, in the street, never mind the alleged confession to Constable Haddon, all serve to send him not only to the gallows, but thenceforth to Birmingham Medical School for dissection, his crime being considered exceptionally depraved. Oh, his character fares better in the press reports. The Coventry Herald, describing him as
By no means of a forbidding countenance, nor was there anything in his appearance indicative of a mind capable of committing the crime with which he stood charged.
Unsurprisingly, given the vilification of our sex, the papers reserve their most vitriolic paragraphs for the descriptions of Polly herself.
The victim of her own gross immorality.
And her children.
The fruit of an almost indiscriminate intercourse.
One paper simply makes up his own mind and describes her as a prostitute.
Dear Mr. Coventry Herald, I'm sending these lines as I wish to complain of the way you report on the death of poor Polly, as if
if she is somehow to blame. You cite gross immorality, all on her part, 5 children by 5 different men. You suppose they are innocent victims of her, driving each to abandon her then. Dear Mr. Coventry Herald, I hope you have cause to repent of your crime. May your ignorance now serve to tarnish your image, at least in 200 years' time. By then it is certain the world will have changed, and a woman could not share the blame for abuse, rape or murder committed upon her in some man's despicable game. If there's gross immorality here on these streets, well, do something worthwhile with your pen. For each poor Polly Button, stand up with us all and sing this town vows never again, never again.
It is the fate of so many of us women to be wrongfully judged by those who know us not, yet condemn us freely. Of course, the most immediate and tragic aftermath of this whole affair is that 5 children have lost their mother. Elizabeth, aged 17, William, aged 14, Hannah, aged 11, Anne, aged 5, and Jane, aged 2. Little Jane, of course, will have to grow up with the knowledge that her father has been executed for the murder of her mother.
I tried to look after my brothers and sisters alone at first, but in the end, they have to be shared out amongst family and friends. The death of our mother is so unimaginably heartbreaking for us children, her loving care so suddenly and so violently taken from us.
As John Danks is being transported over to Warwick Jail, Polly Button's funeral is taking place at St Nicholas Church in Nuneaton, where she is delivered into a pauper's grave as close as possible to the church boundary. The golden moments of life rush past us and we see nothing but sand. The angels come and visit us, but we only know them when they are gone.
There's a hole in the world where you used to be. There's a space in my life forever. Though the pain is gone and the days roll on, there's a hole in this world of mine. Has fallen this morning. The humming outside has grown still. Every book is put away, every curtain closed today, as we wait for your star to shine.
coincided with terrible descent into disaster for the whole town. During the course of these events, the ribbon weaving trade collapsed, and by the time of Polly Button's death, almost 2/3 of the looms lay idle, the weavers relying upon charity to survive. Returning soldiers flooded the workforce, driving the cost of labour down further. And at the same time, thousands of miles away in the Far East, the eruption of Mount Tambora sent toxic ash into the sky, leading to a succession of failed harvests. So inevitably, the price of food soared. A general strike in my town, over high prices and low wages, led to riots, during which 2 citizens were shot by members of the Scots Greys after a reading of the Riot Act. I told you I would get that momentous event in somewhere. Concerned townsfolk, such as myself, set up soup shops and clothing clubs, and a committee appealed to both Houses of Parliament for poor relief when, in the summer following Polly Button's death, an outbreak of cholera served to complete the town's misery.
The looms are still and the kitchen's empty. Cheap French ribbons for the rich bring this town to its knees. Only the soup shop lights are on. Times of plenty are long since gone, and the word goes out to London, help us please. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England, lies our destiny unfurled. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England, we must weave another world.
Red tiled floors, no bed or mattress. Steam engine power is king now. Automation wins the day. Jacquard looms punch out our ruin, and bittersweet is the progress. My poor people of Nuneaton, we must find another way. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England, lies our destiny unfurled. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England, we must weave another world.
Returning soldiers come home as heroes. They take up all remaining labor and push wages further down, as Mount Tambora causes one bad harvest then another, till cholera goes raging through the town. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England, lies our destiny unfurled. Here in the heart of England, the heavy heart of England, the broken heart of England,
times of poverty and squalor, I successfully raised 5 children. For them all to have reached adulthood in times of such poverty is in itself remarkable. Their fortunes, as of those of their children and grandchildren, were mixed, as are any families. Elizabeth lived to the age of 86 and raised 8 children of her own. The sisters all worked in the new power loom weaving industries, and all of the siblings stayed in touch and supported each other for the rest of their lives.
Some women leave behind a legacy of art, but many other women leave behind a legacy of population. At this point in time, over 1,000 living descendants of Polly Button have been traced. Her story did not end with her murder. To quote our other Mary in this tale, George Eliot, "Our dead are never dead to us until we have forgotten them."
There are still some mysteries surrounding the murder of Polly Button, Mary Green. What drives a man to kill the woman he loves? And surely Danks knew that he would be the chief suspect, and so this course of action couldn't be the best choice.
Jane Danks was initially arrested alongside her husband, but was ordered to be set free after claiming that he'd committed the crime alone and then confessed to her. Later that day, she's said to have evaded the person charged with looking after her and hidden in an empty house. And when eventually her hiding place was found, she was found cowering in the corner of an upstairs room.
Was Jane some kind of Lady Macbeth character, enticing him to commit the deed so as to be rid of their financial problem? Or is it possible she was the real criminal in the case? Did she wield the knife herself, or at least take an equal part?
Don't go down the Burgage, it's not the place to be. A lady sometimes walks there, she's not like you or me. Her face is white as winter, there's frost upon her shawl, and she's holding out her hands to catch the children, one and all. I went down the Burgage when I was just a girl, but never on my own, not for all the world. No matter what the season, there's a chill upon the air. And now I know the reason. It's 'cause Polly's ghost is there.
The story of Polly Button, Mary Green, may have taken over 200 years to be told. But, in the words of George Eliot, it is never too late to shine. Never.
This story ends, life pulls us onwards. Though our own times may be troubled, let us rise above it all and take heart from all the tales. Those who've gone before us, show, Steve Moore, selling some copies of his book as well as our CDs. And I do believe we have some descendants of Polly Button in the audience. So please come and have a drink with us afterwards. We're going to go straight into the bar.
I'm innocent!